So the big question now is, did Trump commit a crime against an adult or minor based on the Epstein emails? Now, we don't know.
This is the big question, because we're looking at all of this and we're speculating, we're kind of filling in the blanks ourselves, but where is the victim? That's my question. Epstein implicates Trump. Video by Legal Eagle. Let's check this out, man. It might be getting our boy Trump out of here. I don't know, man. Some new emails dropped. We're going to be going through this video and seeing really what it is.
Bombshell emails directly from Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell confirmed Donald Trump not only lied, not only knew about Epstein's underage sex trafficking of girls, but likely personally participated and spent hours, likely alone, with one of the victims. We're going to go through and analyze the actual emails because they are gobsmacking.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison. Jeffrey and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes, and
3 times a day is insane.
yes, Ghislaine must die in prison.
Now, Sarah Ransom wasn't Jeffrey Epstein's only victim, but she might have been the one who said it best. Because for nearly 2 decades, the story of Jeffrey Epstein has been one of power, privilege, and silence. He built a network that preyed on vulnerable and protected the powerful. Epstein is now dead, and he never had to face his accusers in court. Maxwell is in a minimum security prison without a fence, and is negotiating with the Justice Department for a sweetheart deal of her own. But the truth about who else was involved has never been fully told. But this week, new emails surfaced, some written before Donald Trump ran for president. These emails show Epstein and Maxwell talking about Trump and at least one victim at Epstein's house. So the question isn't just what Epstein did, it's what Donald Trump knew, when he knew it, and what he did in response. And now,
hey man, everything done in the dark comes to the light eventually, man. It's crazy.
Most importantly, what Trump did with the victim. Now, this week, House Democrats, for the first time, have released written proof that Epstein and Maxwell discussed Donald Trump and a victim by name. Now, the first email is from 2011. In it, Epstein tells Maxwell, quote, "I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." To which Maxwell replied, quote, "I've been thinking about that." Now, these messages, written before Trump ever entered politics, suggest that there was more between them than has ever been publicly admitted. Now, let's really think about the wording here. Quote, "I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim..."
I want you to realize the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. And this was Saturday, April 20th, 2011. So, man, if these emails are real, it's basically like Epstein speaking from the dead almost.
Spent hours at my house with him. But let's break this down. Hours. They spent hours. The victim, an underage sex trafficked girl, spent hours with Trump at Epstein's house. There's only so many things that this could mean. It's not like Trump is known for his pithy conversation.
And mind you, this is 2011, if I'm correct about that email. So this is before Trump even ran for president. You know, this is 14 years ago almost. So.
And Trump's past behavior with underage girls and women in general is spotty at best. Then there's the dog that didn't bark. In context, it's clear it means that Epstein is surprised that Trump hasn't been implicated given how dirty he is. He spent hours with this one particular victim. And lest there be any doubt about how dirty Donald Trump actually is, in another released email from 2018, Epstein says, quote, "You see..."
Okay, this is 2018.
"I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, NY biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip." And in context, when you identify these specific individuals, it implies that they spent time alone together. Epstein could have said they met at a party. Instead, he says those two individuals are the ones that spent hours together. And further, it appears the police chief never asked specifically about Trump. But especially in context, the email confirms that Donald Trump was so intertwined with Epstein's dealings and spent so much time with one particular underage girl that it's remarkable. Literally, they are remarking about it, that it's weird that he hasn't been implicated. Now, all this talk of compromising...
What else is weird, that maybe it wasn't known that these emails were in the file. If these emails are real and if this is true, I don't know if any of this is true, right? But maybe he was campaigning and pushing so hard to get it released. That was one of his campaign things, like, oh yeah, we should release the Epstein files. Even JD Vance said it as well. So maybe they didn't think that anything implicating him would be in it, and then they found out, and that's why it's like, oh, it's a hoax, and oh, this, that, and the third. I'm interested to see if he's going to actually comment on this.
Emails reminds me that it's probably a good time to wipe all of your personal and private information off the internet. Your cell phone number, home address, email address, private social media accounts, and tons of sensitive data are shockingly easy to purchase by anyone online. But you can fight back and take control of your private information by signing up for today's sponsor, Incogni. Incogni's privacy experts review tons of data. The broker removes your data once, annual plan. Or try it out. So son of email revealed that the victim mentioned is Virginia, presumably Virginia Giuffre. And that makes perfect sense. At the time, 2010 to 2011, Epstein was settling many lawsuits with his victims. And this might be a reference to the fact that Trump hadn't been sued by any of those victims, but more likely it was a reference to the fact that Trump hadn't been mentioned in the first reporting on.
And remember, Virginia, she is the one that was, I guess, allegedly working for Trump at one of his spas or something like that. And I think Trump said something about him being mad at Epstein because Epstein was taking all of his workers and stuff like that.
On Virginia Giuffre's victimization by Prince Andrew. Giuffre's story was first published in March 2021 by The Mail on Sunday. That coverage first published the now infamous photo showing Prince Andrew with his arm around her at Maxwell's house in Belgravia, London. And soon after, Giuffre went public with allegations against Epstein and Prince Andrew, including a Vanity Fair expose in July of 2011. So you have the facts of what happened to Virginia Giuffre finally becoming public in March of 2011. Then, a few days later, Epstein, seemingly out of nowhere in an email with no subject line, says, quote, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump." In other words, crazy how this incredibly dirty guy, my best friend Donald Trump, isn't mentioned in the reporting. Because, Virginia spent hours at my house with him. Now, others have speculated that this is a reference to Epstein thinking that Trump was a cooperating witness, and that's what Epstein was 75% there on. I think that's unlikely given the context of what was going on in the world. It's probably just that Giuffre's horrible experience was becoming public, and Epstein was just surprised that Trump wasn't mentioned in it, given his extensive involvement. And this fits with the fact that Giuffre herself.
One thing about it, I think, is that if Trump does go down for something related to this or, gets charged with anything or any lawsuits come about, he's not going down quietly. He's telling on everybody for sure.
Never publicly accused Trump of illegality. Now, the police chief here likely refers to Palm Beach Chief of Police Michael Ryder, and as we have mentioned previously, we think that Ryder is, from the public record, one of the only good guys in the story. In 2005, after a parent reported that her 14-year-old daughter had been paid to give Epstein a massage, Ryder launched an investigation that uncovered dozens of victims and extensive evidence, including trash pulls, witness interviews, and surveillance. And then when the local state attorney Barry Kreischer appeared too lenient on Epstein, Ryder turned the case over to the FBI in 2006. But back to the emails, thinking like a litigator, the context is also damning. This email was written in 2011. It wasn't public spin and it wasn't written with politics in mind. This was a private conversation between Epstein and Maxwell years after Epstein got a sweetheart deal from prosecutors in Florida and years before Trump ran for president. Both of them thought that they were probably legally in the clear. And these are just two pals talking about crime in the privacy of their own emails and how their friend Donald Trump was involved. That also fits with past history. For example, in 2002, Trump said that his pal Epstein is, quote,
"Yeah, so I don't think Epstein was ever thinking like, oh, this was going to come to light, right?
A lot of fun to be with. He likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many
I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump spoons from a speakerphone. He's a lot to fun to be with. He even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life." When did Trump say
of them
that?
are on the younger side. But when he aspired to become the president, Trump kept claiming that he ended his friendship with Epstein. Sometimes claiming because Epstein assaulted a girl at Mar-a-Lago, and most recently because Epstein stole a Mar-a-Lago employee for himself. But these newly released private emails and the stories surrounding them tell a different story. To understand why all this matters, we have to go back to Palm Beach in the early 2000s, when Jeffrey Epstein first caught the attention of law enforcement. The allegations against Maxwell and Epstein were horrifying. Underage victims said Maxwell gained their trust, transported them to Epstein properties around the world, and then groomed them to participate in sex acts with Epstein and powerful, wealthy men. As Liz Dye explained on this channel, Epstein had hundreds of millions of dollars, but no one was quite sure how he earned this money. Epstein had a philanthropic organization that he used to amass goodwill and connections with prominent people and institutions around the world. He owned a private island, multiple luxury homes, and 2 private jets. And his nonprofit was later revealed to be a tool for image management and tax avoidance, especially after his 2005 arrest in Florida for sexually abusing underage girls. One accuser told the Miami Herald that Epstein was preying on 14.
Damn, man, how many times did Epstein get caught for the same thing? That's wild. And it just, hey, slap on the wrist. Let's send him back out there. Oh, he got a private island. We don't need to know what's going on over there. That is wild that nobody was really, well, I guess people were looking into it, right? But it took for the, victims to speak up for them to get justice.
Year-old girls who were basically homeless. Another victim said he tried to rape her, and victims said that Maxwell acted as his pimp, getting close to vulnerable girls, even preying on them at summer camp, and then introducing them to Epstein. Despite credible accusations from dozens of survivors, Epstein was able to plead guilty in 2008 to soliciting a minor for prostitution instead of serial sex abuse of minors. And Epstein's legal team included famous Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz and former special counsel Ken Starr. And the non-prosecution agreement brokered between Epstein's lawyers and then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta has been called a sweetheart deal that let a serial child predator get away with a slap on the wrist. Now, what does this have to do with Donald Trump? Well, plenty. Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump used to socialize with each other between the 1990s and the early 2000s. In 2002, Trump said, quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side, no doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life." Now, it appears Epstein was once a member of Mar-a-Lago, but at some point the two had a falling out. According to court documents filed by some of Epstein's accusers, Epstein was banned from the property for assaulting an underage girl. Now, bizarrely, Trump has never verified that assertion. And victim Virginia Giuffre said that she was working as a spa attendant at Mar-a-Lago in 2000 when she was approached by Maxwell about giving Epstein massages. Now, notably, Giuffre has never implicated Trump. However, others did. In early November 2016,
Man, just how deep and dark some of this stuff goes. It's like, man, people with money, bro. It's like, it's not all of them. You don't want to think that everybody that has money is evil. The problem is that a lot of these people were born into it. I don't think Epstein was, but his friend or lover, whoever Ghislaine is to him, I think her father was very rich. I saw something that said basically the textbooks, right? The textbooks that we've had at school, her father owned the company that made a lot of those, and he's got some ties to Jewish people and things like that.
A woman who went by the pseudonym Katie Johnson sued Trump, alleging that he raped her at an Epstein house party in 1994 when she was 13 years old. Now, Trump has always denied those allegations, and Johnson dropped the case after receiving death threats. But Trump has floated 3 different stories about how his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein ended. The first is that he saw Epstein behaving inappropriately toward a girl at the club and kicked him out. The second is that Epstein competed with him on a real estate deal, and that ended their friendship. And in the summer, Trump had a news story: Epstein poached a girl on his staff from the Mar-a-Lago spa, and that soured their friendship. Stole as if she were...
I believe it was over the girl. It was over the girl for sure. Trump, probably one of his little favorite teens, and Epstein took her and said, look, man, I'm trying to bring her to the island. You could come visit her at the island, but she coming to the island.
Trump's property.
I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people, yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
Now, if that's true, that could be another reference to Virginia Giuffre, and some have pointed to the fact that Giuffre never implicated Trump as an exoneration of Trump. But that's contradicted by the fact that in 2011, when Giuffre's story was first coming out, Epstein found it so remarkable that while people were talking about Giuffre, Trump hadn't been mentioned at that point. But it also seems strange for Donald Trump, who at that point was a legitimate TV star and a putative self-reported billionaire, ostensibly running several businesses, to have been intimately aware of these staffing challenges faced at the Mar-a-Lago spa. But apparently he was.
I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him.
Now, Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir was released last month. And in the book, Giuffre said she never witnessed Trump abusing anyone. But Giuffre was just one of the hundreds of Epstein's victims. To date, the Epstein estate has paid more than $171 million to over 150 women. And the scale of the trafficking was enormous. Now, knowing all that, and knowing that people are suspicious about Trump's connections to Epstein, you might think that Trump would go out of his way not to link himself.
The problem is, because even if Trump had nothing to do with any underage woman and stuff like that, is that the inconsistencies. Oh, we're very close. Oh no, I didn't even really like the guy. Oh, he stole my employee. I think that was her name. I think she used to work at the spa. And that's all the political stuff, right? Politicians, they're gonna lie. They want to keep an image, and they don't want to associate themselves with shady characters, because of that. Especially him. He's the president right now. So, and even with these emails, I think most people who didn't like Trump are still not gonna like Trump. Most people who like him are still gonna like him, and the people on the fence are gonna stay on the fence, because it has to be like concrete. Oh, Trump did this, and somebody like an actual victim coming out and saying like, yes, Trump was there, I was underage, and he did this to me. Like, when that happens, I think people will switch sides.
The world's most notorious living sex trafficker, but you'd be wrong, because Trump can't seem to bring himself to condemn Ghislaine Maxwell.
I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew.
Now, he said that after Maxwell was arrested for sex trafficking minors. And as we talked about back in July, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump contributed a lewd drawing to a book celebrating Epstein's 50th birthday. And his response was to send his personal lawyer and now second in command of the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, to interview Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. And during that meeting, Maxwell denied her crimes, blamed the victims, and described Trump as a perfect gentleman. And at the time, Maxwell was housed at FCI Tallahassee, a low-security prison. But soon after Blanche's
She's hoping for that pardon. A lot of people believe that.
visit, she was transferred to FPC Bryan, a minimum security camp with no perimeter fence, a level where sex offenders are rarely placed without special approval. And that raises an obvious question. Was the interview a quid pro quo? As in, Maxwell clears Trump and someone clears her transfer. And will President Trump pardon or commute her sentence? We just don't know. There are rumors that he's contemplating at least commuting her sentence. But that's not the only potential sweetheart deal in this whole affair. Because despite all the evidence gathered by the police and FBI, in 2008, U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, who had been appointed by George W. Bush, effectively let Epstein off the hook. He negotiated a secret non-prosecution agreement in 2008 that protected Epstein and his alleged co-conspirators.
Trump, man, like Trump pardons a lot of people, and two of them, like, that would be kind of crazy is Diddy. A lot of people feel like that would be crazy, and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Acosta's office had identified 36 underage victims and drafted a 53-page indictment, but Epstein secured what the Miami Herald later called the deal of a lifetime. Epstein pleaded guilty to 2 state prosecution charges and served just 13 months in county jail with daily work release. Investigators said the evidence showed Epstein hosted underage sex parties for affluent men. However, the agreement also granted immunity to any unnamed potential co-conspirators. Now, a federal judge later found the deal was illegal because Acosta did not consult the victims before agreeing to it. And to be clear, deals like this basically don't happen. Federal prosecutors just don't hand out blanket non-prosecution agreements in child sex trafficking cases, let alone ones that purport to protect unnamed third parties. Lawyers who reviewed the deal said they had never seen anything like it. But even more baffling, when Trump was elected president in 2016, he appointed Acosta as Secretary of the Department of Labor. Now, we don't know if there were prior ties between Trump and Acosta, but we do know that when Acosta proposed as Trump's Secretary of Labor an 80% budget cut to the International Labor Affairs Bureau, the division that funds programs to combat child and human trafficking and forced labor, Congress was outraged, and that contributed to Acosta's eventual demise. Because when the Miami Herald story broke, Acosta resigned. And at the time, Trump was worried about Acosta. Quote,
I feel very badly actually for Secretary Acosta because I've known him as being somebody that works so hard and has done such a good job. I feel very badly about that whole situation.
Now, in litigation, the best way to find out that someone is lying is that their testimony contradicts the written documentary evidence, especially emails and texts. And this 2011 email makes it obvious that Ghislaine Maxwell lied to Todd Blanche when he visited her in prison. What she told Blanche was exactly what now President Trump would want to hear. She claimed that she only saw Trump and Epstein together in public, never in private.
I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings.
And at that point, Blanche jumps in to help her emphasize the settings were social.
Did you ever observe, you said that have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes.
Maxwell then said she had never seen Trump in Epstein's house.
That's my memory. There was social.
And then, like, just trying to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, right? We've all got people that we used to be friends with and used to hang out with. And if you were running for public office and the friend that you had 10 years ago, 15 years ago, got arrested for doing something crazy, and maybe they thought when y'all were friends that he was still doing that at that time, you might not want to make it seem like you were too cool with that person either. In her, I think, in hopes of getting that sentence commuted or pardoned, she is, gonna stick on Trump's side. Unless that doesn't happen, then, she might start speaking for real.
Settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance.
In other words, Maxwell's story, concocted at a time when she had the absolute most to gain from telling Blanche exactly what he wanted to hear, is directly contradicted by Epstein himself in 2011. And we don't know if these emails were in the volumes of files that the DOJ turned up during its investigation of Maxwell and Epstein, but it underscores why it was so preposterous for Blanche to interview Maxwell to begin with. Apart from how blatantly corrupt the whole thing is, he didn't even have familiarity with a complete trial record. If a prosecutor or FBI agent who was involved in the prosecution had been in that interview, they might have been able to flag it as a lie. But it really seems like Blanche was not down there looking for inconsistencies. He was there to get his boss out of trouble. And of course, Maxwell also denied ever hearing Epstein say that Trump had done anything inappropriate.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never. In any context.
And again, that is now rebutted by the...
And it's like her, man, just because of her history and past, can we really believe what she's saying?
The 2011 email, which featured Epstein claiming that Trump participated in an act against a victim at his house. But wait, there's so much more. The other 2 emails that were in the first tranche of documents that were released included correspondence between Epstein and Trump presidential biographer Michael Wolff. This exchange began on December 15th, 2015, the night of a debate in the Republican presidential primary. And Wolff told Epstein that CNN was, quote, planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein wrote back, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And Wolff, going way outside the bounds of ethical reporting, told him not to say anything yet. Quote, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency that could be used to hang him later or save him generating a debt. So there you have an insinuation that Epstein was or was capable.
Wow. So the Michael Wolff guy is like, okay, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump about his relationship with you. And Epstein seems like he was, willing to help Trump out in that regard. If we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? I think he's like, that's his strong suit, right? Protecting rich and powerful people. I think that's his strong suit. And the other guy, you could tell he probably didn't fuck with Trump at all. Basically, it's like, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on a plane or to the house, then you have something you can blackmail him with. That's what he's basically saying. So you can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Basically blackmail, man. It's wild. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in the Trump regime. Wow.
And political currency.
So basically, it was basically saying it's possible that Trump might protect you. You protect him, he might protect you.
That could be used to hang him later or save him generating a debt. So there you have an insinuation that Epstein was or was capable of blackmailing the 2016 Republican nominee for president, though CNN never asked Trump a direct question about Epstein that night. House Democrats also released another email from January of 2019 when Trump was running for re-election. Epstein wrote, quote, a victim, Mar-a-Lago, redacted. Trump said he asked me to resign, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop, which is another admission from Epstein that Trump, at the very least, knew about all of the sex trafficking and prostitution. Now, some will say this email exonerates Trump since Epstein explicitly says that Trump asked Ghislaine to stop, but it's also possible that the only reason Trump asked for things to stop, if indeed he did make that request, was because it became a political liability for him at that point. And then there's even more evidence of shoddy reporting. You might recall reporter Landon Thomas Jr., who wrote the 2002 New York Magazine article where Trump praised Epstein. Well, we now have some of the emails between Landon and Epstein. These emails were exchanged 13 years after Landon Thomas Jr. broke the story. It was 2015, Trump was running for office for the first time, and in 2015, Landon wrote to tell Epstein that people were now asking him for juicy details about Trump. To which Epstein responded, quote, would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen? And when Landon said yes, Epstein sent back the name of a Hawaiian Tropic girl and 2 other items which have been redacted. Landon then asked Epstein why he didn't put this information out there for the good of the country, and Epstein replied with a link to an article, and he said, quote, my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93 that after 2 years I gave to Donald. And Epstein goes on to say, read my airplane logs in Hawaiian Tropic contest, have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool. So this is all probably going to get worse before it gets better. We can be certain that more information will come out now that the House Oversight Committee released.
Imagine if we knew all this information way back in 2015. I think nowadays it's kind of more commonplace to find out that your favorite celebrity is on drugs, or the president's son is on crack, and this person cheated on this person, or like, it's more commonplace. We see wild stuff on the internet every day now. But if this was like back in the early 2010s, I think it would have, like, a lot more people would be like way more surprised about it. But this is something people have speculated since before the release of these emails.
An additional 20,000 pages of documents it obtained from the Epstein estate. Landon worked for the New York Times and many other media outlets at the time, and he had all this information directly from Epstein, and yet he sat on it for all of this time. And it's also come to light that Landon, the reporter who was tipping off Epstein and who Epstein offered to give photos to, was fired from the New York Times for soliciting money from Epstein. And it's also unclear exactly when Trump and Epstein had a falling out, but there is a 2017 email in which a person, possibly a victim, we don't know, is at Epstein's house trying to get in and says, quote, I don't want to come early and find Trump in your house. Now, I don't want to read too much into that. That's 2017, after Trump is already president.
Epstein victim wrote, I don't want to come early and find Trump in your house. Okay, this is 2017. I'm at the door, but I'll wait for my time. You don't want to find Trump in your house. And he said, yes. Sorry, that is the gate code. Should I bring a special cake from New York? Very well, just send me the address again and the code so I can get to the second floor. Okay. Now, this was already after Trump was president.
That one very well could be a joke, but we don't know exactly when Trump and Epstein had a falling out. And we don't have time now, but there are also extensive emails between Steve Bannon and Epstein in 2018. 2018! So the big question now is, did Trump commit a crime against an adult or minor based on the Epstein emails? Now, we don't know.
This is the big question, because we're looking at all of this and we're speculating, we're kind of filling in the blanks ourselves, but where is the victim? That's my question.
Yet, but consider these aren't even the Epstein documents that Republicans want to keep from becoming public. There's likely more, including the rumored pictures of Trump with underage victims. And bizarrely, the White House has been meeting with congresspeople to try to kill the discharge petition related to the releasing of the rest of the files, which could be seen as part of an ongoing criminal cover-up. And certainly the suspicious interactions and preferential treatment between the DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell look worse by the minute. So you can bet that there will be more. I just wish everyone had access to the same kind of legal support that Trump has. Now, after I started the channel, every week I'd get hundreds of comments and emails from viewers who are dealing with legal problems. And they'd ask, can you help me find a lawyer? How do I know if this attorney is any good? And there's a massive gap in our justice system. Is that people don't know how to find the right.
Yeah, man. Okay, man. So y'all let me know what y'all think about these emails. Do y'all think this really implicates Trump with Epstein? Like, you know, he was right there on the island with him. Like I said, I would like to see actual victims come forward with their story. I don't think that they need, well, you know, everybody's innocent until proven guilty for sure, but you know, if they have some form of evidence, that would be great too. And you would think that it would already came out if it was something deeper, but they said it's some rumors of pictures and things like that. So I guess everything is to be continued with this. You know, some people hate the fact that Trump's in office. They hate some of the things he's doing. But remember, me personally, I didn't vote. I've never voted for president. I do think voting locally, you know, you can have some impact in your community. But when it comes to the presidential election, I see it more as comedy. I see it more as either way, you're pretty much fucked. You might as well pick the one that is saying that they're going to do stuff that align more towards your values, whether you're more conservative or you're more liberal, then hey, just go along with that. But just know, not everything that they say they're going to do, not everything they say they're going to be even capable to do if they don't have Congress on their side, right? So do with that what you will. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these emails down below. Love y'all. I'm out.
I just wanna be great, just to be great, be great.